Modifiers. In Blender, there are several ways to control aspects of an object. In this video, I will talk some about the modifier system. Modifiers are a non-destructive way of altering the mesh of an object. Non-destructive meaning that the base mesh is not altered until the modifier is applied. When multiple modifiers are used on a single object, it creates a modifier stack. Modifiers are used on the object from the top down, and when you apply modifiers, you should always apply them from the top down. This is one of the very few things in Blender that you should always do. You can also use some modifiers multiple times in the same stack, with some exceptions. It is important to note that some modifiers, like the mirror modifier, use the object's origin point as a reference. There are 4 groups of modifiers in Blender, although there is one of them that I never use, mostly because I have never had to use them. The 4 groups are modify, generate, deform, and simulate, and they are in that order from left to right in the drop-down menu. For the most part, the simulate modifiers are different as most of the controls for them are found under a different tab in the Properties editor. Modifiers classified under the Generate section can both create and alter the mesh of an object. I have used a lot of the modifiers from this group, with the subdivision modifier being the one that I have used the most, and the mirror modifier being a close second. The Armature Modifier is a unique modifier. It links the mesh of an object to an armature, using vertex groups. The name of each group are based of the names of the bones of the armature, specifically bones that are set to deform. The Armature Modifier can be added manually, or by parenting an object to an armature and selecting one of the armature deform options. The keyboard shortcut, Alt-P, must be used for Blender to automatically add the modifier and associated vertex groups. I only recommend using the automatic weights when you are connecting an armature to a simple mesh. For every other time, I would recommend using the empty groups option. If you decide to change the name of one of the bones after you link a mesh to an armature, that is okay, the modifier will automatically change the name of the associated vertex group to match. However, changing a bone to deform or not deform will not cause an update to the object's vertex groups, nor will adding or deleting a bone. However, you can manually add or delete vertex groups as long as you give them the exact same name as the bone that you want them to be controlled by. Changing the name of a vertex group will not change the name of any of the armature bones and will cause the link for that vertex group to fail until you change the name to the name of an existing bone. Having a vertex group that does not have a link to any bone will not cause the modifier to malfunction. The last group consists of modifiers that creates a simulation. All of the modifiers settings are in the Physics tab, for the exception of the Explosion Modifier and the Ocean Modifier. All of the modifiers appear in the Modifier Stack so that Blender knows where in the stack that they belong. The Explosion Modifier uses the particle system for most of its settings, with a few settings in the Modifiers tab. The final modifier that I am going to talk about is the Ocean Modifier. It creates the illusion of an ocean using limited resources. It has many control options and can either generate a mesh, or use the existing mesh. If you use the existing mesh, then the mesh will need good topology for the modifier to work properly. This was a long topic, and if you are still here, I would like to thank you for watching the video and happy animating. If you have any questions about any modifier that I did not cover, please do not hesitate to ask, and I will try my best to answer the question.